Hello everyone and welcome to BrickCats. My channel is for anyone who enjoys custom LEGO creations, likes saving money, and or those looking to get into custom building. If you're a fan of my channel or are interested in supporting what I do, please consider leaving the video a like, subscribing to the channel, or leaving a comment. Each like, subscription, and comment helps others find my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Today I'm going to take you all through my process of collecting pieces and building a model. Some of the things I do might not be applicable to you if you're only planning on building a single model, but perhaps you'll find something that will help you save some time or trouble. If you've got any organization or time-saving tips to share, please share them in the comments. I'm definitely interested to hear them. After deciding on the model I want to build, I typically scroll through the parts list just to get familiar with the elements the model requires. I can usually identify most of the things that I don't have, which can come in handy if I'm placing an order for something else, and can browse the bricking store or pick a brick to see if it's available. When I start collecting parts, I have a couple of sizes of containers to hold pieces for a model. I got these two from a Canadian store called Loblaws, and I've got some other sizes like this larger one that I got from the container store here in the United States. And this is not a sponsored video or plug or anything like that. This is just what I found works best for me. And the two most important qualities in a container like this for me are, first, a flat bottom. So you can see there's no dimples or anything. These are just kind of like feet to keep them a little bit off the surface of the table or whatever. I really hate those containers that have like the corner dimples in here and pieces get stuck in there, and it's just really inconvenient for me to get things out of there. And I also like containers that are clear, so I can kind of look inside and see. I can generally tell what model it is without having to look at the label. For label, I do put painter's tape with some Sharpie up there. As you can see, I haven't built the fulcrum sabers from Brick Vault yet, as well as the tie brute. And these smaller ones are usually good to up to about 1,000 pieces. These larger ones, maybe 1,500 to 2,000, and then this largest one here goes up to 3,000 plus, depending on the size of the pieces. Larger models typically have a larger proportion of bigger pieces, so the scale isn't quite linear. I also have a much larger, it's about double the size of this guy. I use that if I pre-sort some of the pieces, and I'll get to that in a minute here. The first pieces I reserve come from my organizers full of smaller elements. I have these sorted roughly in order of element name, so this first box here you can kind of see is for bars and brackets. This next one is for bricks, modified bricks, more minifigure pieces, ingots, and cones and round bricks, as well as some of the hinge pieces. Next we have, well, I guess that's out of order, but next alphabetically would be plates and modified plates, or all sorts of things here. Slopes included the printed slopes down the bottom. Tiles and some miscellaneous pieces that I just didn't really have a good spot for, like these 5x5 dishes I want to keep separate. Got printed tiles up here, extra dividers, things like that. And then this last one is just full of like minifigure pieces and extra projectile shooters that I get from official sets, as well as a bunch of blasters and stuff. Sometimes I buy official sets off of like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and they're missing the blasters inevitably, so these go to fill out those. I also have a separate box with dividers for Technic pins, and this is getting really full. I need a larger one, or a second one. Typically I don't count out and reserve the really common pieces like the black Technic pins here, and I just assume I have enough of them. But for less common ones, or something that I really want to make sure I have everything for, I will pull out whatever I need from here. So I go through all of these and pull out what the model requires. A pair of tweezers really comes in handy here, and this usually takes me about 45 minutes to an hour. Having the boxes sorted in alphabetical order by element name makes it really easy to go down a Bricklink wanted list and adjust the quantities I have in a systematic way for me. Once I've tapped out my smaller parts, I move to my larger bins. I used to have all of these combined, and this was a huge pain to go through, as you might imagine. I have a feeling I probably spent a lot more money than I needed as well, just because it was so difficult to find stuff. So now I recently moved these into a number of different boxes, as you can see, and these are again from the container store for larger groups of elements. The largest one in the bottom right here is for plates, and then on the bottom left, those are bricks. Those are kind of the two largest categories. And then moving up on the left, you've got one for tiles, slopes, and then smaller ones. These are larger plates or round plates, and then brackets here. This is a UCS Republic gunship that I have disassembled and need to inventory. I have a largish box for wedges. It is amazing how many wedges I have for some reason, and those tend to take up a lot of room. And then this last thing is kind of a catch-all for the everything else category with hinges, cones, oops, there's a technic piece in there, panels, dishes, things like that. This helps me in a couple of different ways. Obviously, it increases the odds that I find an element I need, since I'm only looking amongst the other wedges that I have, for example. Instead of looking for one piece amongst the, I don't even know how many pieces there are here, 10,000 plus. Instead of that, I'm looking for one piece among 1,000. I also find this really helpful in the middle of a build when inevitably I find that I am missing something or a piece is damaged. So for example, if I need a white 1x3 brick, I can just go down to the brick box, and I see one right there, and I can pull it out and use it. To fill out a wanted list, I almost always just dump out the entire box onto an old curtain. I keep that right here, and then I just manually go through it until I find what I need, or until I'm reasonably confident I don't have what I need. This is usually pretty time consuming, but honestly this is the part of the process that I find the most fun and sometimes the most relaxing, because I'm weird first of all, I get to listen to some music, and it's generally a very pleasant couple of hours, spread across an evening or two, depending on the size of the model or how many I'm looking for. I will say that I do have to be careful if I'm pulling parts for multiple models. I have to be careful like which box they're going into, which sorting box they're going into, and I've definitely had the issue where parts I pull for one model make it into the wrong box. I think that I'm missing something, and then I order it, and then, you know, weeks or months later I will find those missing pieces. It's really annoying, but the solution obviously is just for me to be better at it. Once I've collected everything in my existing inventory, I start placing orders. My go-to these days is almost always Pick-a-Brick, so I export the remaining items to a new wanted list and use Brick Hunter to see what's available. Once I place that order, I get the remaining elements from Bricklink, or on occasion, if there's a really expensive piece I know I have in a different model, that is sometimes motivation to disassemble that model. And by the way, a lot of people ask me if I keep stuff built or if I disassemble them. I tend to keep them way longer than I planned to, and I still have dozens of models sitting on various shelves and bookcases. I really need to get better at recycling these. But it kind of serves a purpose. I do like to do comparison photos for models I'm reviewing, and for certain vehicles like X-Wings or gunships, I think it's cool to be able to take a picture of them all at once. I also want to retain the option to do comparison videos at some point. There is one coming, so keeping the models assembled does make that easier. Anyways, as parts come in, I sort them into their various containers after verifying that I get what I paid for from LEGO or the Bricklink seller. If the model is small, typically about 1,500 pieces or under, I won't do any pre-sorting. However, for larger models, I start off with dividing the pieces into the larger kind of piece families, rather. And typically for me, these are bricks, plates, modified plates, tiles, slopes, Technic, brackets, and I usually have an other category whose contents vary depending on the model. Sometimes it makes sense to divide further, like for example, if there's a ton of plates, I might divide them into small plates, which are 1x1s and 1x2s, and then large plates for everything else. Or you can really draw the line anywhere you want to, kind of depends on what you have to hold them. And at this stage, I am generally just using Ziploc bags, sometimes with painter's tape labels and sometimes without. Usually it's pretty obvious. Here's an example of the other category. So I've got dishes, these fence pieces, some hinges, things like that. These are plates, tiles, brackets. You get the idea. Oh, and then this is an example. The tie brute requires like some insane number of these fluted bricks, so I have all of these separate just for ease of access. When it's finally time to build a model, I either dump the contents onto my desk and hunt for each individual piece if it's a smaller model, or I dump each pre-sorted category into these little desk organizer trays, again from the container store. These are really great. Again, they have flat bottoms, so pieces don't stick in there. It's nice and smooth inside here, and you can kind of see they stack really nicely. So at the end of my building session, I tend to just stack them all up and push them off to the side until the next time I build. Generally, the pieces don't like fill the entire thing, so even though these are totally empty, maybe you can see there is a little bit of clearance under there. Depending on how full it is, it doesn't actually take up that much room and it's still pretty stable. So these have been really helpful, especially for larger models. I don't think I'll ever go back to building from a huge unsorted pile again. It's definitely worth your time to do some sorting on the front end, in my opinion. And again, occasionally if a model calls for a large number of single elements, like 1x1 or 1x2 plates or whatever else, I might keep those in a small plastic bag or one of these riddle trays. And then I could just put that in the corner here, put the rest of my plates in here, and have access to both pretty easily. Building goes as you would expect. I'm making notes on my Google document for each model as I build for the eventual review, as I am very forgetful. Plus, it may be the case that larger builds take me several days or several weeks to finish, so taking contemporaneous notes increases the odds that I remember an important point. I'm generally also taking pictures of certain subassemblies or connections to jog my memory, or to include in the review if it's a complicated section. After that, it's a bunch of script writing, recording the video and audio, and trying to finalize it in a reasonable amount of time. As you all know, I'm not always successful in that, but I am trying to get better. Thanks as always for watching this overview of my build process. Hopefully you found something you can use, and again, if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Remember to subscribe, leave the video a like, and follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Each subscription, comment, and like helps increase the channel's visibility, and I greatly appreciate your support. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you back next time.